It was early morning, the kind of stillness that only comes before the city awakens. On a quiet street, a girl walked alone, her figure small, her steps hesitant, and her bare feet brushing against the cold pavement. Her name was Emma. She wasn't just any girl. Emma was a survivor, a child without a home, without a family, and without a single coin to her name. Each morning, hunger gnawed at her frail frame, and today was no different. Clutching her empty stomach, she scanned the streets, her sharp eyes searching, hoping to find something, anything that might serve as a meal. Her heart sank as her gaze settled on the familiar sight of a restaurant up ahead, a place she knew tossed out leftover scraps at dawn. But just as Emma began crossing the road, something unusual caught her attention. A wallet. It sat there just off the shoulder of the street, as if waiting for her to find it. Her breath hitched. In her world, such a discovery could be life-changing. Yet even in her desperation, Emma was no thief. Her mind raced as she picked up the wallet, her fingers trembling. Could it belong to someone in the restaurant? Was this her chance to do the right thing, even when life had been so cruel to her? Little did she know this small act of honesty would unravel a story far greater than she could ever imagine. Stay with me, because Emma's journey is about to take a turn you won't see coming. Clutching the wallet tightly in her small hands, Emma took a deep breath and stepped into the bustling restaurant. The warmth of the room contrasted with the cold, harsh world outside, but the stares she received were anything but welcoming. She hesitated, her eyes scanning the room, searching for someone who might have lost the wallet. But before she could utter a single word, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Hey, what do you think you're doing here?" It was a waitress glaring at Emma with suspicion. To her, Emma wasn't a child with good intentions. She was just another nuisance, another problem to get rid of. I found this outside," Emma stammered, holding up the wallet. "It might belong to someone here." But the waitress wasn't listening. Her voice rose louder, threatening to call the manager if Emma didn't leave immediately. Emma's heart raced. She could feel the weight of every stare in the room, the disapproval, the judgment. She pleaded again, her voice trembling, explaining that she only wanted to return the wallet. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the clatter of dishes and murmurs from nearby tables. Most of the patrons chose to look away, pretending they didn't see or hear what was happening. But in the corner, one man sat quietly, his eyes fixed on the scene unfolding before him. Who was he? And why was he so interested in Emma's story? What happened next would change Emma's life forever. Just as the tension in the restaurant reached its peak, the man in the corner finally stood up. His presence was commanding yet calm, silencing the room with a single gesture. "I'll handle this," he said firmly, stepping forward. The waitress froze, her defiance melting into nervousness. It was then that Emma realized who he was. The restaurant manager, Mr. Carter. He crouched slightly to meet Emma's eyes, his voice gentle but curious. "What's going on here, young lady?" Emma hesitated, her small hands clutching the wallet tightly, her voice trembling as she explained. I I found this outside. I thought it might belong to someone here. I didn't want to keep it. I just wanted to help." Mr. Carter's expression softened, but Emma continued, her words now spilling out like a dam had broken. She told him everything. How she had lost her father in a tragic car accident when she was just a child. How her stepmother, cruel and heartless, had thrown her out of the house with nothing but the clothes on her back. And how she now scavenged for food each day, surviving on nothing but her wits, her resilience, and her unwavering belief in doing what was right. For a moment, the room was silent, the weight of her story hanging heavy in the air. Then Mr. Carter did something no one expected. He smiled. Taking the wallet from her hands, he inspected it and nodded. "This belongs to one of our regulars," he said. "You did the right thing bringing it here." He turned to the waitress. "Make her a plate, anything she wants." Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. "You mean I can eat here?" Mr. Carter knelt down, looking her in the eye. Honesty like yours deserves to be rewarded. Now sit down and enjoy your breakfast. It's in the house. What Emma didn't realize was that this small act of kindness wasn't the end of her story. It was only the beginning of a transformation she never thought possible. Emma sat at the corner table, her eyes wide with disbelief as a warm plate of food was placed before her. The aroma alone was enough to bring tears to her eyes. For the first time in days, she had a proper meal. Each bite felt like a small piece of hope, melting away the hunger that had been her constant companion. But it wasn't just the food that filled the emptiness inside her. It was something far greater. As she ate, Mr. Carter sat across from her, his gaze kind but probing. "Emma," he began softly, "tell me more about your life." Her voice was quiet at first, but she shared her story once again. Her father, the car accident, the stepmother who discarded her like she was nothing. And through it all, how she had fought to survive, not by taking, but by holding on to the values her father had taught her. Mr. Carter listened intently, each word seeming to weigh heavily on his heart. He didn't interrupt, nor did he pity her. Instead, he saw her for what she was, resilient, honest, and far stronger than her young years should have allowed. After a long pause, Mr. Carter stood, his expression thoughtful. "Wait here," he said, disappearing into his office. Emma watched, unsure of what was happening. Doubt crept into her mind. Was he going to call someone to take her away? But then he returned, a gentle smile on his face. "Emma," he said, sitting back down, "you've been through more than most people could handle. And yet you've never let it change who you are. That kind of strength, it deserves a chance." Her breath caught as he continued, his tone steady and sincere. "I want to help you, not just for today, but for the future. You need a home, a family, someone who believes in you. If you'll let me, I'd like to be that person." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She could barely speak, her voice trembling as she asked, "You mean you'd take care of me?" Mr. Carter nodded. "Not just take care of you, Emma. I'll make sure you go to school, have everything you need, and know what it feels like to be loved again. You deserve that." For the first time in years, Emma felt something she thought she'd lost forever: hope. What started as a simple act of honesty had led to a life-changing moment. A moment that reminded everyone in the room of the power of kindness and the courage to believe in second chances. Emma's life transformed in ways she never imagined. Gone were the cold streets and endless hunger. In their place was warmth, safety, and a chance to dream again. We see her now, a young girl with a bright future. Each morning she wakes up in a home filled with love. She walks to school with books in her hands and hope in her heart. Mr. Carter, the man who believed in her when no one else would, is by her side, cheering her on every step of the way. But Emma's story didn't just end with her own happiness. From the corner of the restaurant, the waitress who once dismissed her watches quietly. The look on her face says it all: regret, humility, and the realization that kindness matters. And then, years later, we see Emma again. Only this time, she's the one offering hope to others. Mentoring children, giving them the courage to believe in themselves, and showing them that even the smallest act of honesty can change everything. Mr. Carter once said, "Sometimes it's the smallest acts of honesty that reveal the greatest hearts." And Emma? She proved him right. Kindness is a chain reaction. Let it begin with you. If Emma's story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of kindness and second chances, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration today. And for more heartfelt stories like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Together, we can keep spreading hope and positivity, one story at a time.